So if you're at all like me, you read the 5,000 story and you're like, dang, this is so cool. Look at God, like, showed how awesome he is, and like 10,000 people, like no one could try to refute that this didn't happen. This isn't like a one guy thing. This is like a big spectacle. These people are desperate. I think like American church would be like, 10,000 people got saved today. Isn't that so cool? And so I'm like, John, why did you add the rest of the story? Like, why didn't you just cut it off? Like, look at all these 10,000 people got fed. Like, then Jesus got in a boat and was like, have a great day. You know, that's how I would have ended the story, because it's a better story. But I think what John is trying to show us is it's something different. The point of the story is not that Jesus fed a bunch of people. So, right, I mentioned earlier that John's presentation of this story is slightly different. One, because he has an ending, but there's also some points within the story that are different. Only in John's gospel does it say that Jesus distributes the bread. In every other gospel, it says that the disciples are the ones who walk around with the bread and give it out. And most sermons, when they talk about those ones, they're like, look, this is our part that we give, and we play a role in, you know, Jesus' miracles, and we have to do our part, etc. But this one, if you go back, it says in verse 11, Jesus then took the loaves, gives thanks, and he distributed them. So I think what John is trying to show us is that this story is not about bread. And it's not about a crowd. It's not about what they're saying. It's about who Jesus is and what he wants to be. The crowd came and they wanted to use Jesus to be fed, to be their king. Jesus isn't coming to be useful. He's not going to be some temporary provider. Literally, for his entire ministry, Jesus could have been pumping out bread like a factory. I mean, 2 years' worth of bread is insane. But yet, he makes his disciples like go through the fields and eat grain from the fields. When he's like, I could have just made bread show up at any point. So part of me is like, dude, why'd you make them eat raw grain when you could have been making really good bread for them? But the point is that he's not trying to just meet temporary needs like, hey, you're hungry. Well, here, boop, here's some bread. It's not what Jesus showed up to do, but I feel like if you're anything like me or like the American church, we kind of end up wanting to use Jesus for something. It's easy to see him kind of as like a product, or he makes me happy. Or like, I want you to think, most of the time, people ask me, you know, like, why do you follow Jesus? Why do you like Jesus? You say, because he saved me, because he loves me, because he helped me. Those are all selfish at a base level, because it's what he's doing for me, not because of who he is. Jesus does not want to be a means to an end. He doesn't want to be the reason that you're happy. He wants to be happiness. He doesn't want to be a means of grace. He's grace embodied. But we treat him like that. He wants to meet the deepest needs of our hearts. He doesn't want to meet temporal, worldly needs that go away. John wants us to know that Jesus is in charge. He makes the rules. He sets the parameters. It says that he calls those. He chose the 12. It's not what the crowd wants. It's not even what the disciples want. It's how Jesus wants us to come to him on his terms. And sometimes I think when we throw around words like Messiah, right? This is like to point out like I'm the one who's coming. And we think about like, yeah, being saved. But sometimes I think we can change the story to be like on my terms. I want to be saved in this way. Or I want to be saved from these things, but not all of this. I like these things. Take this part. But Jesus is not coming to just be a king or a prophet, right? He's not coming to just rescue them temporarily. He's coming to rescue you forever, rescue us forever.